name is Curtis, and I'm the host of the Three Angry Nerds podcast. You may have heard of us. We're like a pop culture slash nerd culture podcast. We talk about video games and movies and comics and whatever else, anything that falls within that realm. Cover. Now, the reason I want to chat with you guys today is that we do the podcast, speaking to the mic every week. But one thing I don't do is do YouTube videos. I kind of want to do more. I kind of want to do this whole YouTube thing. Now, I want to do a top 10 for you guys today. Top 10. So, 7th generation video games. So, 7th generation, in case you're curious, is Xbox 360, PS3, Wii, Nintendo DS, PSP, and PC. That was within 2005 and 2014, we'll say, for sake of consistency. And so let's dive in and do top 10. If it's not on the list, sorry, you can still love the game, you can still cherish it and love it, but it's not on this list. Sorry. So let's dive in, shall we? All right, we're going to start this list off right with a Metal Gear Solid game. Now, some of you may have a PlayStation Portable or had one. A bit of backstory for me, but I didn't get a PlayStation Portable right away. I waited a few years, and I remember I had a large commute to get me to university, and I thought, well, I'll get a portable gaming machine to keep me busy. And a friend of mine sold me his PlayStation Portable for $99 or $100 or whatever. And more importantly, he gave me this game, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, for free. At the time, I'm like, oh, it's a Metal Gear game. I'll play it. I'll see what it was like. Now, the thing is with this game is that it really is a Metal Gear Solid game in its core. The way that the game plays, the way it, handles story and visuals and characters and everything. I mean, it's a Metal Gear game fully. It's not Metal Gear Solid Lite. It's not Metal Gear Solid, dumbed down for the PlayStation Portable. It really is the full Metal Gear Solid experience. And what I enjoyed about the game and what I enjoyed really about how they handled it is that they never really treat it like it was meant to be, dumbed down, like I said earlier. It is just that full experience. And, with the Phantom Pain coming out, a lot of people are really excited because there's certain elements in that are new to the franchise, or at least apparently. But the thing is, if you go to Peace Walker, you'll find that a lot of those, elements of Phantom Pain actually started in, this game here. So now a lot of you may be thinking, oh, I don't have a PlayStation Portable. Funny thing is, too, is they released this as part of the Metal Gear Solid HD collection, which included Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and Peace Walker. Now, some of you are like, well, that sounds like a great package, and it kind of is. I mean, even though it doesn't have the original Metal Gear Solid and it doesn't have 4, those you can actually get in the Legacy Collection on PlayStation 3 only. But it really did bring this game to people, and it really did kind of, well, in a lot of ways too, like bring it to people who had never played it before, because I think this game flew under a lot of radars. And when people found out, hey, there's actually a Metal Gear, maybe it's not like a numbered one, it's not, Metal Gear Solid 5, obviously, but it's still worth my time. A lot of people really got into this, and I think you can really tell the people who really appreciate this franchise from those who kind of just brush this game off as just being Metal Gear Solid Lite, and those who actually played it and understood that it really was a full comprehensive experience on your PlayStation Portable, or the other consoles that it got the HD remaster on. And I mean, this game's got bosses that you can see from this tank here. I mean, there's actually like a full bevy of features here, and again, they don't skimp out on anything, and that's kind of the thing I always liked about Kojima. It's kind of a shame that he's getting brushed aside, but he's always kind of that person that will always push a console and a game to its max, and he'll always try to get the most out of it. And I think that if you're looking for that great Metal Gear experience that pushes the game to the limit, you really can't go wrong with this game at all. And number 9 here is going to be Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Now, I know it's easy to make fun of the Call of Duty franchise these days, especially with how Activision sort of made an annual franchise and they milk it for all it's worth. But really, I mean, I'm sort of imploring all of you to sort of just think back to when Call of Duty 4 came out. I mean, this game was a juggernaut when it came out, and rightfully so. I mean, the single player was top notch. It was just a blast to play. Multiplayer, I mean, there's very few games that really were able to touch Call of Duty, well, especially 4, but even the other games, in terms of just a pure multiplayer experience for a long time. I mean, really think about it. And I mean, how many times did you guys spend unlocking all the weapons, coming up with new loadouts, and all these other things? And I mean, it was fun. It was a great, enjoyable experience. And again, I know it's easy now to kind of make fun of these games for what they are, and I'm as guilty as that as anybody. But I think back to Call of Duty 4 and just how great of a game it was. And I mean, I've got so many memorable experiences of like close games and just really kind of digging into that game and getting all the mechanics of it just down packed. I mean, spoilers, but Modern Warfare 2 is not on this list. And the reason why is just like I was just so pumped about this game that like when that sequel got announced, I was so let down because there was no way for me like it was gonna match that multiplayer experience that I found on this new generation of Modern Warfare, as they say. All right, guys. Number 8 is coming in with Bioshock, the game that sort of, I guess, in a way, redefined narrative on the next generation of consoles. I mean, when you think about it, Bioshock really was an experiment in just telling an interesting story, that interesting, setting and dynamics between the characters. I mean, I think it really did show that video games were maturing and video games were becoming something a bit more than what you know, mom and dad thought of them as. It was a lot more advanced, it was a lot more sophisticated, and still a fun game. But I think really the reason I'm putting it on this list is just for how it sort of progressed that whole idea of what video games could be, and really that whole idea of taking a story and really bringing it to life, no matter what the subject matter is. And that's ultimately Bioshock's greatest feat that it accomplished. All right, guys. So coming in at number 7 is Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Now, I know, a lot of listeners of the podcast know I'm a huge fan of Pokemon, but really, I mean, I get a lot of people asking which Pokemon game would get me back into the franchise if I haven't played for years. And really, I tell people unanimously every time, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, it really is. It is one of the most easier going Pokemon games. I mean, it has a lot of classic Pokemon, but it also includes a lot of newer ones, a lot of new dynamics. It changes up things that you might, you know about from the original generation 2, which was Gold, Silver, and Crystal, and it sort of just merges it all together and just kind of, in some ways it's kind of like a remaster, but it kind of, if anything, to me, makes it the definitive experience from Gen 2, and also just makes it a definitive Pokemon experience in general. I mean, you have the Pokewalker here that we see, and I mean, that really did add a fun little dynamic, although good luck getting your hands on one these days. But hey, I mean, still a fun experience, still worth investing time in. Even I do every year I play this game, so that shows something, right? All right, guys. So coming in at number 6 is a game that I'm sure a lot of people would be really angry at me at if I left off, and that's The Last of Us. The Last of Us, like Bioshock, sort of advanced the idea that video games can be more than just simplicity, shooting zombies or whatever. I mean, it still was a video game in the sense that, there were shooting elements and stealth and whatever else, but there was so much heart to that game, and there was just so many ways that it made you feel for the plights of the characters, Joel and Ellie, and it really did sort of give you the sense that this was a world that was lived in, and it wasn't just one that, existed for you to simply just go and walk around in, and that it was this living, breathing world. And I think, if anything, I mean, this game will be remembered for years, if not decades to come, for that reason, just because it was such a game based on the environment and the world that was lived in, and not just, the one story of Joel. I mean, you can even, there's a, sort of like a standalone, I think it's called Left Behind. Excuse me if I'm wrong on that, but it expanded on the game too, and I think that was one of the great ideas, is that you want to expand on this game and you don't want to just leave it be just Joel's story. There's so much more to that world, and I think that's ultimately why I'm putting it on this list, is just because of the world building and just the general. I mean, just
All right,
great story
guys, and
elements.
coming in at number 5 is a game that I know is going to be one of Carlos's favorites. And again, he would probably kill me if it's not on this list, and that's StarCraft II. Now, a lot of people are going to be asking, like, well, why is StarCraft II so important? It really was the sequel that took so many years to get built and or get made. And the whole idea with it was is that I remember that first trailer coming out. People were so excited. People were just over the moon, ecstatic for finally being able to play the sequel to arguably the best RTS real-time strategy game out there. And yeah, I mean, Blizzard delivered, you know, as they usually do. We'll say. Now, I was thinking of putting League of Legends in here. Not gonna lie, but I just think in terms of delivering on fan expectations and just giving fans what they want. I mean, really, it's harder to find a game that gives fans what they want and just ultimately gives it all in a really kind of, I guess, balanced and fair and just really well made package. I mean, we've got the third installment, the Protoss version coming out this year, and I think if anything, it's going to revitalize a lot of people's interest in, like I said, arguably the best RTS game out there these days. All right, guys, coming in at number 4 is Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, obviously, Rockstar did a great job with other games that came out last generation, and I mean, some of those may appear on the list. I'm not gonna, say anything more, but really, I mean, GTA or Grand Theft Auto 5 really did cement that Rockstar was starting to grow as a developer and starting to really sort of find a way to make the hardware kind of suit what they wanted to tell in the game. And I mean, the story, it's a great story. The gameplay is just insane. I mean, the things you do in this game, the heist that you're seeing them just do. I mean, all of that. I mean, it's hard to think that like this would be possible on any other previous generation or even like earlier on. I mean, really, it took Rockstar so many years for them to finally figure out how to make this fleshed out world and find a way for you to explore it and kind of destroy it in a sense too. So I mean, really for everything that they did, I mean, GTA 5 was a major accomplishment for Rockstar and not the only accomplishment that'll appear on this list. Alright guys, coming in at number 3 is the Mass Effect Trilogy. Now, I know some members of the podcast and even some people at large may disagree with me putting this game at number 3, especially because I'm including all 3, including that third one that a lot of people like to hate, but in my opinion, all 3 games, they do work together as one. And even with the Fault of 3, I mean, just to see what BioWare was doing with this game and just how they were merging all these elements into all 3 games. I mean, it takes a lot of skill to do, and I mean, obviously now a lot of games are doing that. I mean, we've got The Walking Dead and all that other stuff, but really, I mean, for me personally, I just found that the Mass Effect games just did it well, and kind of got their first to market. I mean, I know probably other games have done it before, I'm sure, but really, I mean, just the way they did it was just so masterful. And I mean, again, I'm not going to touch 3 because I know that's a thing in and of itself, but I think when you look at it as a whole, I mean, and what BioWare did, it's probably one of the greatest storytelling feats ever accomplished in video games, so that's why it's on the list. Alright guys, and coming in at number 2 is Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Now, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I was not looking forward to Skyrim when it first came out. I did not have a good time with Fallout 3, and I was kind of thinking, oh man, I don't really want to give this one a try, because I tried Fallout, and I gave up after a few hours. Just because the game was buggy, there was a lot of problems, and I mean, I know, for instance, Carlos on the podcast, he talks about things like this, like games having problems like that, but like, I was kind of hesitant that Skyrim would be like that. But playing through the game and just seeing how, again, how immersive and massive the world was, and just how well made it was, I mean, I still have so many fond memories of, coming across the ancient deities and dragons and, fantastical swords and whatever else. And I mean, there's no way that I would be able to properly describe for you right now everything that I did in that game. But I think really, I mean, that's the greatest thing about this game, and well, a lot of games by Bethesda in general, not just Skyrim, but it's the idea that you're really going in there and crafting your own world and your own stories. And I mean, the game sort of just gives you the world to play in, and it's really up to you to define your own story, define your character, and define what they do. I mean, everything from your class to how you interact with people, to the sides that you take, to basically like your profession. Like, you can go around in this game and basically be a landlord if you want, or a bard, or whatever. I mean, even on PC too. I mean, I have it on PC as well, but I have so many mods for that game. I mean, you can literally load up hundreds of mods and make that game anew all over again. So, I mean, really it is the experience that just is constantly evolving, and I think really for that, I mean, it deserves a mention on this list. So, give it a try if you haven't already, especially with Fallout 4 on the horizon.
I rode in a gang. They left me to die after I'd been shot.
Alright guys, and number one pick, if you didn't guess it already, is Red Dead Redemption. This game, for me at least, is the perfect game of the last generation. I mean, it had it all. It had an excellent story, phenomenal ending. I mean, don't go out and spoil it for yourself now, I mean, if you haven't played it, but the game, it just, like other games on this list, it built a world, and you know, you got the sense that even though John Marston's tale was important to the grand scheme of the story that you played in, it also too is not the only one. And I mean, you got to understand that there's more to this world, and it touched on a lot of great, themes of, generations dying and things like that. And I mean, it touched on themes that I don't think any other game since has been able to touch. And
Take my time and go after him.
I always like westerns. I'm a huge nerd for them. I mean, Sam Peckinpah and all that stuff. And this game really did take all the elements of a great western and put it into a game. So I mean, honestly, if you have an Xbox 360 or a PS3, I really do recommend that you pick this game up and play it. I mean, you won't be disappointed. I mean, I've played it every year. I mean, every year I load it up, I play it through to completion. That's how much I love this game. And I mean, if I can do that, I think you guys should at the very least give it a chance if you haven't already. So that's it for our top 10 games of the 7th generation. Feel free to like our podcast on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and listen to our podcast. I mean, it's something we do every week, and it's something that, we put a lot of time and effort into, and I feel like if you haven't given us a chance, just give a listen to an episode or two. I mean, if at the very least you're going to laugh, you'll probably learn a couple things. You might learn that, Carlos really does have a thing for BK Nuggets. You might find out that Corey goes on massive drug benders and comes back basically after, a couple weeks. Lucas is just insanity incarnate in the best way possible. And I mean, there's me. I'm the one trying to glue it all together, even though I'm kind of illiterate. That's kind of an inside joke, but it might be possibly true. I'm kidding. Yeah, follow the link below and listen to our podcast. I mean, you guys will likely enjoy it at the very least. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please subscribe, thumb it up, comment, all that other stuff. Let us know that you like it. I mean, if you like this video, let me know and I'll do more. I mean, I enjoyed doing it. I would enjoy doing it again. So cheers, guys. Bye.